The road to the championship begins here in Jacksonville, Florida, a city big enough to host the high-flying action of the nation's premier rough stock-only touring series. Tonight, we'll watch the power and majesty of top-rated livestock matched with championship-hungry riders competing in bareback, saddle bronc, and bull riding. Who will survive and claim the title? Let's find out as the 2015 Pro Rough Stock season begins with the Jacksonville Open.
And the PRS Jacksonville!
We have a sold-out house here at Jacksonville Equestrian Center in Florida. In fact, we had to bring in some extra seating to accommodate the enthusiastic fans who are here tonight to see the kickoff of the 2015 Pro Rough Stock season. And we are so glad to have you with us here again on RFD TV tonight for the season opener of the 2015 PRS Real Rodeo Tour. This is our third season on RFD TV, and we'd like to say a great big thank you for making it one of the network's highest-rated Western sports program. Once again, this season, I'm joined by former world champion bareback rider Kelly Timmerman and former PBR world finalist and all-around rough stock rider Gordon McCoy. And Kelly, as we get started here in this second year in Jacksonville, the crowd is back in full force.
It's one of the many things I love about this sport. We're here in Jacksonville, Florida, which is a thriving rodeo community. But folks from large cities have never got to see the chance at this high-level, extreme, professional rough stock competition that's up close and personal. It's an edge-of-your-seat experience that still gives me chills, still to this day after 15 years of being part of it.
And Cord, Kelly touched on it, there are Western sports fans right here in Florida.
Well, you got to give Florida a little credit. You normally think of Western states or Australia or Brazil when you think of rough stock. Florida's raised its fair share of successful riders as well. Isaac Diaz, whom you'll see tonight, and Jared Smith, who's one of our past champions.
And Kelly, from the livestock standpoint, we've got three contractors who have brought their best.
Yeah, we've got Klein Pro Rodeo, Silver Spurs, and 5-Star Rodeo. And, you know, anybody in the rodeo business will know the livestock that we have here. And that's one thing with the PRS. We go out and we hand select the animals that are here, the animal athletes. And we really try to bring the very best at every show that we produce here at Professional Rough Stock.
And a reminder, tonight is round one from here in Jacksonville. The field of riders will be narrowed down to the top four, who will return next week to compete in the Wrangler Final Four Showdown round and have a shot at that $30,000 championship purse. And with that, let's kick things off with the bareback riding. We're going to start things with David Peoples, and the Peoples name is very familiar because his older brother, Stephen Peoples, has won a PRS World Championship.
Yeah, he's got some boots to fill, but really starts his horse good, comes out, he's lifting on his rig, and he's being aggressive. Horse is kind of wanting to whip him out across there, but he's, you know, it's something when you got a brother like Stephen Peoples that's exposed, rides great all the time, and this kid is just following his example, and he's going for it right from the get-go. The horse stumbles a little bit, but in this slow motion, you can see the length of his spur stroke, the aggressiveness in his ride, and that will and that want to win first.
But you can definitely tell that those horses don't hear the whistle. He didn't stop performing. What a way to start the 2015 season off in the PRS.
Now the young gun, 21 years old, David Peoples from Redmond, Oregon, on stacked deck from Klein Brothers in this super slow motion shot.
Take
Beautiful
a picture of your TV screen there. That's good stuff right there.
That's top shelf, 86 points. Now to the cowboy from France. Evan Jane is on Whiskey Woman. Klein Brothers is the guy that came to the United States as a foreign exchange student, went to Texas, and ended up winning a Texas high school bareback riding championship.
Yeah, and he's really on his way to qualify for the national finals. I see him on YouTube. He's putting out his work ethic, his in-the-gym experience, and really trying to boost, you know, not only himself in riding, but he's showcasing that France has got a lot of great rodeo cowboys over there also.
He's finished in the PRCA in the top 25 on several occasions, just hadn't had that year where he qualified for the top 15, but boy, he looks really strong here.
Justin, those bareback horses don't care where you're from. You just got to perform.
That was a really good spur ride. If you notice on that slow motion, his spur contact was in the neck all the way to his rigging handle, clicking off, and then he was in front of that horse's front end before the feet hit the ground.
Here's Matt Bright from Stafford, Texas, originally from Tennessee, a man who has qualified for the National Finals Rodeo. This 31-year-old Kelly's had his share of injuries. He had the elbow surgery in 2014. Last year he tore his groin up. but he knows how to work out too. He's one of those P90X workout guys.
Absolutely. I watched him get his back broke at the finals on Real Deal Peak Cars.
His first finals.
Yeah, and I mean, he comes back, he gets in the gym, works hard, he's in shape. That was a really good spur ride on a horse that was hard to track. That horse quit him kind of halfway through, then started bucking again. That's hard to stay consistent in a spur ride.
Here's a guy that's been through your training system, Kelly. Blade Elliott from Alabama. He won Roanoke in 13. He also qualified for the finals that year. He's on Share from Silver Spurs.
Yeah, you know, a kid came to me, wants to get in better shape, wants to be a better bareback rider. Of course, when you do both of those, you're going to increase your pocketbook. You know, you're going to win more money. And, you know, we're watching this ride. He drew a very good horse. I wish he was a little bit more consistent with his spur stroke from the point of that horse's shoulder to his rigging handle. You can see where those feet are kind of falling back at the base of that rigging. That's hard to pick that horse up, and he's not showing a whole lot of athleticism in his body. He's kind of using more of his arms. So
86 and a half. There's no telling how many it'd have been if it'd finished better. You know, that horse didn't kick that last jump right when the whistle blew.
Well, he takes the lead as we go to Cimarron Gerke, a man who finished the top 4 of last year's world standings. Sunday Feathers from Klein Brothers is the horse he's trying to hang on to.
Cimarron's been spending a lot of time on the back of horses. He trains race horses, and one thing that Cimarron really needs to improve on, and this has happened all of it last year also, he's not getting those good classic starts. He's kind of letting that right leg kind of drop back a little bit, and he's not able to keep that horse collected up underneath him or stay consistent with the spur ride, and that's cost him a little bit in the ride. He's drawn
love that
great.
horse. Yeah, you said that horse just bobbing his head. I mean, as a bareback rider, that's good stuff right there.
Here's Jared Keelan from Kansas. Here's last year's rookie that won 3 events, finishing the top 3 of the average, finishing the top 3 of the world standings, and look at this guy go at Snuff Queen from Silver Spurs Rodeo.
When you show up to an event and you have that horse, I mean, you know that you've got a shot to win first. Jared's been on this horse before. I think all of us have. You know, she's fun. She's a bigger horse that's really going to snap your feet back to the handle. And as long as you're in contact of her front end before her front feet hit the ground, it's going to be spectacular.
91 points. You could tell Jared knew what was going because he let him roll to start with.
He was letting the good times roll for one of the biggest scores of his career. 91 big points. Our other top 3 riders will join him for the Wrangler Final Four showdown on next week's show. Kayla Zadell is with Keelan.
You know, I had that horse about 10 years ago when I was in college, and I hadn't seen that horse in a long time, didn't really know what had happened to her. And then when I come here today and seen it was 274 Snuff Queen, I thought, man, that's got to be the same one. And I think I was 83 or 84 on her back then. So I thought, man, if I can just do my part, I know that it'll be a workout really good. And she turned out today, and, you know, she was more outstanding today than she was 10 years ago when I had her, just kind of stood in one spot there. You know, a cowboy's always setting goals, trying to, you know, achieve what's attainable to him. But even when you reach it, it seems like, you know, you want to go a little bit farther. So maybe today, maybe later, I could be 92 or something.
When we return, last year's winner and 2013 world champion McKenna Wimberly is getting set to do battle with Silver Spurs. Red Man. Bull riding is next. Welcome back to the Jacksonville Equestrian Center here in Florida. We're ready for bull riding, and 3 of our final 4 riders from the 2014 have returned for another shot at making the Wrangler Final Four showdown round. Let's get to it. Michael Riggs of Claxton, Georgia, will be our first rider. He's been on the trail a long time, Court.
He has. You know, I've been to his hometown, Claxton, Georgia. I remember on the water tower it said, fruitcake capital of the world.
Hey, he has got a great draw here. I don't know if you'd call him a fruitcake or not, but old 99 Dusty from 5-Star Rodeo was the one to get the dough on.
Well, Dusty dusted him right there at a bad time. He looked like he just kind of got his arm straight there at the end. Just one pump over his head would have finished it up. And I bet Riggs is a little disappointed in that ride right there.
Tough break for the Georgia gentleman. As we go now to the Pennsylvania man, Toby Stover. He is from Mill Hall, Pennsylvania. 2013, he won Roanoke, made the finals. Last year at the finals, he rode 2 out of 2, but did not make the short go. He's on 50 caliber.
Oh, nice bull right there. Turned back into his hand coming around there. You know, we'd mentioned it in a bareback ride when somebody come from France ride a bareback horse. It's same with the bulls. It don't matter where you're from. Those bulls don't really care.
Hey, I like the way he was really pumping that free arm there.
Well, you know, that's one thing that you kind of got to watch. So if you get too excited and go too far in there, those bulls can feel you. You take a 1,500-pound bull that can hit a fly on his back, he knows where you're at. You can't overmove it.
Stover right now with an 84 to set the pace here in round one. Let's go to Tag Elliott. We haven't seen Tag on the PRS Tour much. Glad to have this guy, college champion 2 years ago, Wrangler National Finals qualifier out of Utah. He's on the dork from Silver Spurs.
Right away from his hand. You talk about not seeing much. I took my wife to watch The Longest Ride the other day. I seen him in the movie there, so I know where he's been. He's back to riding again, though.
I tell you, that bull spun it up like he's on a swivel right there, even in slow motion. And Tag Elliott, this guy stuck it to him move for move perfectly.
I think it takes more talent to go away from your hand because it's more balanced when you're away from your hand. In your hand, you can use a little bit more power, but boy, you got to be particular away from your hand.
He takes the lead with an 88 as we go now to John Jacobs, and John Jacobs is the man who led last year's world standings until he had that separated shoulder. Won the first round of the finals with a 90, and boy, does he got a great bull here, Waldo from Silver Spurs.
I love watching John Jacobs ride because every time he rides, I try to figure out how in the world does he do
stay
that.
on, I know.
You just watch his feet. It don't even look like he touches them with his spurs. It is all balance all the way for John Jacobs, putting his feet back there a couple times.
Terry Don West style.
Yes,
I know,
it is.
that's impressive.
Gets off like him, too.
It'd be hard for him to do a bull riding school. It's hard to teach somebody how to do
Look
it
at
like that.
Look at that slow-mo. What a shot that was. It's almost in 3D.
Look at that bull's movement.
That is good stuff.
He almost does a 180 with that front end before he ever gets back on the ground.
Unreal. That is a good-looking shot here on RFD TV. 86 and a half. And he'll move into second place with the man who finished in the top three last year. Now here's one of my new favorite guys in the world, Trent Cormier. Here's a guy out of Houma, Louisiana, and you talk about a Cajun. This guy, he is a wild man that is a wild bull rider, and he is going to ham it up wild style tonight.
He is cutting him up. That bull didn't make a round without him swinging at him with the outside foot there, trying to get all he could out of that bull. I think he messed up when he turned into Trent's hand there.
Oh, that was a bad move. This guy lives the Cajun lifestyle. He could have been born 100 years ago, and they still called him wild. I mean, he's taking the lumber to this one. 90 points for Cormier. You better believe it. He'll take the lead. And McKinnon Wimberly, the 2013 world champion, tore his bicep last year, or he may have won his second world title. He's on that Red Man bull from Silver Spurs. Uh-oh.
Oh, he got over in there. You know, we talked about on the very first bull tonight. You can't overmove. McKinnon just made a little bit more of a move into his hand than he needed to and just couldn't recover. Watch this bull. That bull felt him, steps forward back the other way, and it's the hardest moving bull riding to go back the other way like that. Oh, look at this view. I'm telling you, that'll make you just want to get your bull rope out right there just to see it.
Good night. This slow motion here we have going on this year is fun to watch, and McKinnon Wimberly doesn't hang on for 8, no score. These are the guys that'll be next week for the Wrangler Final Four showdown round. Trent Cormier with a monster 90 ride. Right now, let's go to Kayla, who's with Trent Cormier.
Oh, I had a good little Brammer bull just right there in the gate to the right. Just fit me real good. Had a good hold, kicked with my outside foot the whole time. Was there for 8. Nod my head and open my hand after the whistle blows.
Well, he's keeping it simple. Looks like he keeps that up. He's going to get an invite to Duck Dynasty. Looks like he'd fit right in there. Coming up next, saddle bronc riding. World champion J.J. Elsher looks to pick up where he left off last season and win yet another title here in Jacksonville. Welcome back to Jacksonville, Florida, and the Pro Ruststock Jacksonville Open. We're ready to qualify 4 riders into next week's saddle bronc riding Final Four, and we're happy to welcome back to our broadcast team Kayla Zadell, and she's found one bronc rider who's particularly pleased with his draw.
The matchup I have my eye on tonight is Curtis Gartone and a Gulf Coast. And last time Curtis drew this horse, he was a winner on him in Texas. And when I talked to him earlier tonight, his reaction was yes. So needless to say, he is very excited to ride Gulf Coast tonight.
Thank you, Kayla, and it's good to see Curtis back after the wild wreck he had at the World Finals, Kelly.
You know, he came out and had the second round, had a horse called South Point of Sutton Pro Rodeo. And this is usually just a nice horse in the bronc riding a draw. I don't know what got in the way. It must have been the weather, the water, something, but she had one of the rankest trips. bucked him off at about 7 seconds and knocked every ounce of air out of him, knocked him completely unconscious. We had to pull him out of the arena. It was one for the record books for sure, so I'm really tickled that he's back here.
I mean, it was ugly. Let's go to Cole Bilbro out of Mississippi. He's on a Silver Spurs horse here in Jacksonville called Only Hope. So the Mississippi man trying to get his year started off right here on the Pro Rough Stock Tour.
You know, right there, that's what we call a money horse. But really, even-footed, you know, consistent with the bucking pattern, allows him to just sit up there and make just a nice bronc ride. I wish he would have been just a little bit more aggressive and assertive with those feet.
I noticed the same thing you did there, Kelly. You said even-footed. Both his front feet hit just square as can be, so it didn't roll that saddle either way. I mean, it was straight as a string all the way.
87 points. It's a good one. Now let's go to Eric. I just want to spur some ponies. Wolford, he has made the World Finals the last 3 years in a row. He's on Little O from Silver Spurs.
Kind of got a rough start there. You know, when you're not able to really get those feet in contact with that horse's neck because they bobble, sometimes it affects your ride. You're not able to be in time with that horse when he's coming across there. And right here, you can kind of see like he's just a tad behind, and there's one jump where he gets behind and then he really lifts on that rein and gets back up in there and makes a solid ride towards the end.
So it's an 85-point ride for Eric Wolford, who's making his home in Belfouche, South Dakota now. Next is a home state cowboy. Isaac Diaz may have went to school in Texas and moved out there, but he is born and raised in Florida, and they love him here. My Gal from Klein Brothers is the horse he'll try to ride.
You know, he's a tall guy, too. He stands in probably about 6'2", I would say, and he's got the horse that's pretty little. You know, any bronc rider needs a little bit of snap to really reach and get ahead of that horse's front end, and you can see right here on this left side, he's not getting up above the point of that horse's shoulder.
Well, that little horse made a lot of jumps in 8 seconds, and you take the length of his legs, how much further he's got to move his feet than Cole, the first bronc rider that we've seen. He's got a long ways to move there in 8 seconds.
So we'll go now to Cole Elsher out of Faith, South Dakota, Prairie Bird from Klein Brothers. Here's a guy that in 2015 is getting on some bulls. He's entering the steer wrestling, but this is his primary event.
He's such a stud. He's just an all-around cowboy, just a hand. The thing that I love about this kid is he's classy. He always starts horses good. He's from South Dakota where they know how to ride broncs, and he drew a bronc here in Prairie Bird that is weak just like the last horse we saw. She's good in the front end, but you can see not enough kick in the back. And, you know, sometimes it is the luck in the draw. That's a great spur ride, just how you want to do it, but it cost him a little bit in the horse.
Well, what's impressive about Cole, it's hard to watch the back of the horse when you're watching his feet in the front now. He does take the attention to the front.
Yeah, 84.5. Here's Curtis Garton out of New Zealand, now living in Louisiana. He's on Gulf Coast from Klein Brothers Rodeo Company. This is the one we were talking about. This is a great matchup. He was excited to have this one again.
Whoa. I think he might have read different. You know, I didn't like that horse as well. He's kind of heavy and his head's coming up. The horse is not helping him. Curtis is having to force every jump there. That horse is not helping him with the snap at all.
Yeah, you know, the horse acted like he just wanted to quit all the way across there also. I mean, maybe, you know, just like athletes, sometimes those animals just don't have their best day.
I've had a bad day or two once or twice.
Going to have a hard time making it back to the Wrangler Final Four round. And here's the champ, J.J. Elsher, last year's world champion, and he's got a snappy one. They call him Jumpin' Jack.
Hey, let's talk about a start here. When J.J. nods his head, he holds his feet for 2 jumps. What that does is not only keeps you in contact and solid and consistent with that horse, but it does what we call collecting that horse, keeping him underneath you so his body weight and his balance allows him to buck better. And that right there is why JJ wins so much. And sometimes he doesn't draw the best horse, but he makes him good by the way he rides. And he gets up there, gives a fan a high five. What a class act.
Well, that'll get him in the top 2, 85.5. Still not enough to catch the first man out. Mississippi's Cole Bilbro is going to top the Final Four for next week's Wrangler Final Four Showdown round. Kayla Zadell has got Cole.
Well, on the way down here, we were talking about what horses we wanted to draw, and I said I'd sure like to have that one, and it worked out. That's a really nice horse, and I was glad to have it. That's pretty exciting, have a lead over JJ like that, and I've got the advantage. I've got the best horse, so it's going to work out maybe.
Don't go away. Plenty more to come tonight from here in Jacksonville as we hand out the Round 1 awards and preview next week's Final Four. Stay in touch with the PRS through one of the many social media channels. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and subscribe to us on Instagram. Also, Pro Rough Stock has its channel on YouTube where you can watch past episodes and more behind-the-scenes videos from the tour. Be sure to join the growing number of fans who have already signed up for our PRS Rough Cuts fan newsletter. Here is where we stand for next week's show with our Wrangler Final Four Showdown round matchups. Kelly, what stands out in bareback riding?
Well, you know, the Final Four, the horses in this round stand out because each one of them has a little bit of a characteristic to them that makes them difficult. Patty, they won this event on this horse last year. Horse only weighs maybe 1,000 pounds soaking wet. She is tiny, but the best horse in this pen. There's your matchups. My pick is definitely going to be the best horse, Patty and Blade Elliott.
All right, Cord and bull riding.
Well, Silver Spurs has loaded up the Wrangler Showdown in the bull riding. Trent Cormier, Sticky Sanchez, really tough bull. Tag Elliott, got River Bend, John Jacobs, Boo Hoo, and Toby Stover, No Say I.
Kelly and saddle bronc riding.
All right, just like in the bareback riding, Best Hope in this pen is the best horse. And Cole Bilbro, I mean, he's on fire, and he's got a little bit of a lead. But don't you dare ever put J.J. Elsher up against the wall, coming in, let him be second right behind you, because I promise you he's going to show up and do what he does every single time and go for the money.
All right, and time for our awards. Our Kershaw Cutting Edge Performance Highlight of the Night. Cord, who do you have?
Well, you got to go with Trent Cormier. You got to cheer for this guy to win. Just to hear his interview, that guy's cutting right over the top of his head, not his beard, over his head every jump and making a great ride.
Yeah, no cutting edge on that beard, just the way he spurs one up right there. There's nothing like the best ride, and there's nothing like a Kershaw. Now let's hand out the top bucking honors with the Bismarck Ranch Big Buck of the Night. This award goes to our top performing animal. Kelly, who do you like?
My Bismarck Big Buck of the Night has got to go to Snuff Queen. When you draw that one right there, all you're looking at is the dollar signs.
Jared Keylon says, show me the money, and that's what he got. Our Bismarck Big Buck of the Night is sponsored by our good friend Neil Wanless and the crew at Bismarck Ranch, where they promote sustainable agriculture. Bismarck Ranch, ranching the way nature intended. Next week, the Wrangler Final Four Showdown round from here in Jacksonville. For Cord McCoy, Kelly Timmerman, and Kayla Zadell, thank you for inviting us back in your homes tonight. I'm Justin McKee. Can't wait to see you next week.